Roll initiative. Those are probably the two scariest words in the Dungeon Master's arsenal. However, running combat can be a struggle. Best way to represent combat in D&D is with little plastic, resin, or pewter representations of our party and the monsters they slay, otherwise known as miniatures. So where do we even get miniatures for our D&D games? For starters, there are of course the official Dungeons & Dragons miniatures that come pre-painted, and with enough eye squinting, they even look okay. And then there is the unpainted versions that are great for what they are. And lately, there's a real growing collections of digital sculpts that we can print from home. But there's also a secret society of specialized miniature manufacturers that are filling just about any unique niche you can imagine. You're watching Table Ready Gaming, and I'm Dave. So hit that like button and let me be your miniature sommelier as I show you 3 miniature companies you've never heard of. First on my list, I have Oathsworn Miniatures, a small European company that has 2 lovely line of miniatures. The first being their Burrows and Badgers line, which is made specifically for their Burrows and Badgers 28mm skirmish game. While I've had my eye on these miniatures for a while, I currently don't own any. But I do plan on getting some for just a one-off project, maybe a diorama, or maybe even a campaign that's set in a Redwall-inspired universe. While I don't yet own any miniatures from Oathsworn's first line of minis, I do own the entire second line, and that is their Heroines Insensible Shoes, which is almost an entirely female miniature line. These ladies actually look like they're ready to go climb down some deep, dark dungeon. Not only does their armor look, well, reasonable, and their shoes are flat and, well, frankly, sensible, they're also equipped with loads of kit. Things like rope, pikes, and other tools that probably would come in handy while adventuring. This line represents women from several different popular D&D lineages, and they scratch some pretty unique combinations. For example, when my partner wanted to play a Tabaxi monk in our campaign, Oathsworn had me covered. You can browse Oathsworn's catalog by visiting their website, linked in the description down below. First company down, and I sound like the nerdiest hipster I've ever heard.
Don't think he knows about second breakfast, Pip.
On to our second company, Stonehaven Miniatures. These miniatures cover some of the more classic D&D classes, as well as some of the other more obscure ones. They also have a variety of undead representations of halflings, dwarves, and other fantasy folk. I especially love their small folk line. I love how Stonehaven has decided to depict dwarves, halflings, and gnomes. These little guys look great at an inn or out on the road as adventurers. Also, if your D&D party is like the one I run games for, then you'll understand my pain, as each session I watch them side rail my campaign and turn the adventure into a session of Pokemon Zoo Tycoon. Well, Stonehaven has you covered, with all kinds of adorable, soft animals you can use to frighten your players, by putting representations of their furry friends on the battle mat. Head on over to the website, listed in the description below, and use the accompanying discount code for 10% off your order. If you decide to add some of Stonehaven or Oathsworn miniatures to your collection, do remember they are pewter, and it might be worth watching this video on how to protect pewter miniatures before taking them to game night. So my third is a lot larger, and I really wouldn't consider them small. Well, I mean, they're not a small company when we compare them to the fish that swim in our little farm pond that is known as Tabletop Miniature Production.
There's always a bigger fish.
And that company I'm talking about is CMON, or Cool Mini or not. Now, while you might know CMON for their board games, especially their zombie-inspired games, you might not be aware of their miniature war game, Song of Ice and Fire. Every time I show one of these minis in a video, someone asks, where did I get it? Because, frankly, they're gorgeous sculpts, done by Dark Sword Miniatures, based on the wildly successful books that will never be finished by George R.R. Martin. These aren't to be confused with the wildly successful HBO series, which has one of the worst final seasons in history of television. So maybe having these books never finished isn't the worst thing that could happen. These miniatures fit well with other popular fantasy manufacturers and have tons of variety in the line. You could easily buy a box and have enough models for a King's Guard, a Town Militia, or a Camp of Brigands. Each box will include around 12 miniatures, and you'll have about 4 to 5 unique sculpts per box. This means that guys like Lannister Guardsmen, covered from head to toe in armor, look great. But your more whirly-twirly Night's Watch start to have some pretty noticeable repeating poses pretty early. But if that really bothers you, they're just plastic models. You can easily kit bash them with other things to mix the look up a bit. Now that I have told you about 3 miniature companies you've never heard of, would you like me to tell you about the most affordable miniature company you've never heard of? But first, I wanted to thank you for watching these videos. And remind you that if you enjoy tabletop gaming, then now might be a good time to hit that subscribe button. Okay, so getting into D&D can seem extremely expensive. You might not have a vast miniature collection by the time you want to start that first campaign. So how can you quickly acquire a lot of great looking game pieces without breaking the bank? Well, here comes Printable Heroes to the rescue. This company makes all kinds of paper miniatures you can use in your D&D campaign. They're basically like paper dolls, but without the hassle of having to dress them. Even after collecting a massive miniature hoard, I still use this company from time to time. And sometimes I need a miniature that I just don't own, or don't want to paint, or probably going to just use once. Now, if you're a traveling DM, you can easily throw these into a binder or a folder and head on your way. So they're perfect for that scenario. I, for one, really enjoy their comic book look, and I think they make great tokens for an online game. And if you're really lazy like me, and you don't want to spend a lot of time cutting these things out and making paper miniatures, well then, check out this video on how I made these sweet tokens. Like all the other companies, you can find links to Printable Heroes in this description down below. Well, I'm Dave, and you're watching Table Ready Gaming. Until next time, good luck storming the castle.